Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of June 8th to the 14th, 2025. Hopefully you guys got your Nintendo Switch last week and all. I got mine from Walmart, got it all set up and everything like that, and I am enjoying it so far. I'll get to a review of it though, but right now I am liking what I'm seeing at this time, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it as much as I am as well. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover this week, including the Microsoft holding their Xbox showcase and the Outer Worlds 2 Direct and everything. Sales numbers seem to be coming in so far, at least from Nintendo, in regards of basically how the Nintendo Switch is done so far in terms of sales numbers and all. We also are hearing reports about the possibility of, Call of Duty coming to the Nintendo Switch, Switch 2 and all, and even the possibility of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and everything. And finally, the big reveal of a new entry in the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil Requiem, if I'm saying the name correctly, in terms of ranging from rumors to who might be in the game to the location that was shown in the trailer and all. If you're interested where I got source of these information, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this either on YouTube or Patreon. And if there's any part of this video you wish to skip to, timestamps will also be in the description of this video as well. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cent. Stories that caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into sort of a huge amount of details and all. The first one has to do with an interesting announcement Nintendo did this week in terms of the fact that we have a brand new Splatoon game. And this one kind of came out of nowhere and all. And what makes it more interesting is that it's not the traditional Splatoon as we've seen with Splatoon 1, 2, and 3. We're talking about an all-new single-player, a spin-off to be exact though, and it's been confirmed for the Switch 2 and all. This was I would say, a very interesting announcement Nintendo did and all, and being as I'm more into the single-player type of games though, this certainly has caught my attention and all. As of right now, we have not heard of any release date, at least as far as I'm aware of, although it was been reported that it was spotted on ESRB rating system, so it isn't out of the realm of possibility we could hear a release date soon. Maybe if Nintendo does have their Direct this month, maybe we'll hear something about that as well. But in either case, it basically was very interesting to hear about this Splatoon spin-off and all. Continuing on though, Nintendo has recently acknowledged that there may be a battery charge issue for the Nintendo Switch 2 and everything like that, and I'm putting out basically a fix to the situation and everything. As far as I'm aware of though, I haven't seen any charge issue I had with my Switch 2 and everything like that. Not saying the issue doesn't exist or anything like that, I'm not denying it, but as far as I'm aware of, I personally have not ran into that issue, at least at this time, but they are providing at least supposedly a way around this, at least for now though, although I wouldn't be surprised if a update or a patch is released at some point down the road. And last but not least, we are learning from Andy Robertson that points out that a new leadership has been set over at Rare, and that it could be open the doors to the possibility of a new entry in the Banjo-Kazooie series. Now, as of right now, we've seen Rare lately has been mostly focused on Sea of Thieves and this Elwyn, if I'm saying the name correctly, that who knows when that will see the light of day and everything. But with this new leadership showing up, I'm hoping this maybe opens the door to maybe not only reviving, Banjo-Kazooie, but maybe the Conquer series as well. I do think that would like to see more like original platformers basically make a comeback, and maybe it would be a good fit not only for the Xbox systems but for Game Pass in general. And of course, if given Microsoft's recent third-party approach, if they want to add more to their portfolio and everything. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we had 2 trailers that were shown this week. The first one has to be a new trailer for the upcoming Ironheart show that will be appearing on Disney Plus. I might give this one a try though, okay? I mean, it's directed by Ryan Cooper, who did, I believe, 2 of the Black Panther movies and all. So this one I might take a look at as well. Have seen several Marvel shows here and there. I enjoyed Daredevil Born Again. I'm not sure about this one, but I'll still give it a watch nevertheless. The other one has to do with the unexpected surprise announcement that we are actually getting a sequel to the Star Wars parody movie Spaceballs, with Spaceballs 2, which basically to me brings a smile to my face though. It will be very interesting to see how many of the original cast will return for this movie, including Rick Moranis. If I remember, he played, the parody of Darth Vader in that one. Although I've heard he's retired from acting and all, but who knows? Maybe this will bring him back into the fold and all. And I'm very curious to see how this one plays out and how much of a parody they will do with, the Star Wars movies, especially with, the new trilogy, the prequels and everything. And I like the opening they did with the Star Wars. I remember the original Spaceball when they ended it by saying, anybody who could read this doesn't need glasses, and also very clever. And also, I am looking forward to seeing this one when it comes out in theaters. I believe it will be next year, but in either case, this one is definitely on my radar. And last but not least, we have also learned that the Legend of Zelda movie has been delayed. I believe it was originally supposed to come out, I think it was either next year or something, but it believed that's being pushed into 2026. Obviously, they do want to get this movie right and everything, and it is worth pointing out that before the Super Mario Brothers movie came out in 2023, that got pushed from its original release date as well. On the other hand, I'm still a little mixed with the idea of it being a live action movie compared to like what we saw with, the Super Mario Brothers movie. But at the same time, Westbell did do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I did enjoy that movie. So it's possible this one could succeed and everything like that, but time will ultimately tell. And we'll still have to wait and see the official trailer to see whether or not it garnishes good, if people like it or hate it or something like that. So time will ultimately tell, but for right now, the movie has unfortunately been delayed and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with the latest entry into the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil 9, or Resident Evil Requiem. If I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize if I'm not, though. Now, to me, the Resident Evil series has had its ups and downs over the years, though. To me, I view Resident Evil 4 as one of the best entries in the series, to be exact. But the series has also had some entries that have been, well, let's say for some questionable and some that don't have the most positive reviews and all. Resident Evil 6 is one of those examples. Although, in my personal opinion, I thought Resident Evil 6 was better than Resident Evil 5. I know some may disagree with me on that, but I still stand behind that position, though. But in 2017, Resident Evil kind of got a little bit what some might view a soft reboot, depending on how you want to view it, with Resident Evil 7, which brought the series brought back to more of the survival horror part and everything. And the game did very well. This also led to Resident Evil 8 with Resident Evil Village. And of course, we got remakes of Resident Evil 2, 3, and even with Resident Evil 4. Although there are some rumors that some people believe Code Veronica could come down that path and all. So the idea of a new entry, though, was kind of interesting when the rumors started to pop out. And when we saw the first trailer for it, though, this certainly caught my attention, especially since it seems to be connected to the ruins of Raccoon City and everything. And that definitely really caught my attention indeed, because it made you kind of wonder, will we be exploring the ruins of Raccoon City, particularly the destroyed building of the RPD or other areas, to be exact. Maybe other creatures, probably mutated creatures or something like that. So it certainly would be interesting to see how that's going to play out. We now know that basically one of the characters will be basically supposedly the daughter of one of the called Grace Ashcroft, who is the daughter of Alicia Ashcroft, who first appeared in 2003's Resident Evil Outbreak as a Raccoon City survivor who aimed to expose the Umbrella Corporation and everything like that. It's basically Grace will be seen as an FBI agent in it. It also points out, though, and this is from Game Rant, though, that apparently Resident Evil or Capcom leaker Dust Goldman has long stated that Resident Evil 9 or Requiem will feature at least 2 distant playable characters, with Leon Kennedy holding a major protagonist present in the game, which would be kind of interesting because up to this point we've only seen Chris Redfield basically make an appearance in both 7 and 8. We have not yet seen any other characters, though, and that would be interesting to see Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 9 if that happens. And who knows, maybe the possibility of Carlos or Jill from Resident Evil 3 or Claire Redfield making an appearance again. So it certainly would be very interesting to see, though, and I'm very curious to see how this is all going to play out. Now, granted, unfortunately, we didn't really see a whole lot or little in terms of gameplay or anything like that, though. And we've only seen maybe some cutscenes here and there, maybe a little snippet of gameplay with a certain level and all, but nothing really at that point. And we know that based on what we're hearing so far, the launch date for the game is seen to be aiming for February 27th, 2026. Now, whether or not they will hit that launch date or not remains to be seen. It is possible we could see a delay or something, but for right now, that seems to be the case. We also know it's coming to the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. No word on the Nintendo Switch 2 version, though, but I would say it's by no means, I don't view it, it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could come to the Switch 2 or not. I'm not saying 100% for certain it will come to the Switch 2, but it is certain, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of it coming to the Switch 2 either. So overall, very interested in this new entry in the Resident Evil series. Really interested to see the fact that it's going back to Raccoon City, and it'll be really interesting to see how much of the ruins of Raccoon City we could be exploring or not, though. So this is definitely one for next year that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out on, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with reports about what's the deal with Call of Duty coming to Nintendo's console, specifically with the Switch 2 being out and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Call of Duty, particularly the whole what's the situation in terms of it coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 and all. Now, during the whole lead up to Microsoft purchasing or completely purchasing Activision Blizzard, one of the things Microsoft did was supposedly sign contracts with companies like Nintendo and even eventually Sony, despite what many view Sony dragging their feet at the time, in terms of saying that they would bring Call of Duty to their respective platform and all. This was sort of a way to try to, at least at the time, convince the FTC why they should let this deal go through and everything. Now, they did sign a deal with Nintendo and they were all on board. Sony, like I mentioned, dragged their feet until eventually they did sign a deal with Microsoft and everything. Now, a lot of people assumed at the time, though, that they weren't holding their breath thinking that it would be coming to the Nintendo Switch, or Switch 1 back then, and many believe it would be coming to the Switch successor, now known as Switch 2. Now, during the Xbox showcase and all, they did show a trailer for the next entry in the Call of Duty series. I believe it's Black Ops 7. However, during that trailer, the Switch 2 was not mentioned. This kind of raised certain questions on whether or not Call of Duty would come to the Nintendo Switch 2 and all. Now, I will admit, I'm not really a big Call of Duty fan. It just doesn't click with me as much. But I do understand the appeal. I do understand there is a market for this game, and I can see why some people might view it as a big deal for that game to come to that system and all. Well, recently, some reports, or at least some comments made, at least according to what Kotaku is reporting, that does indicate that the game is, or at least a Call of Duty game is still coming to the Switch, in this case the Switch 2. In an article at least from Nintendo Life, here's what they had to say. Quote, although there's been no public update, according to Kotaku's senior reporter, Nintendo and Microsoft still plan to announce something in the future. It's not exactly the most thrilling development, but when Kotaku reached out from Microsoft about this, it was reassured it's still happening. This is what they had to say. Quote, but what about the Switch 2? More than 2 years after Microsoft and Nintendo entered in an agreement to bring Call of Duty to the Switch, nothing has materialized. Sources close to the matter tell Kotaku that both sides are still working on it. GameStop also got in contact with Activision and was told both teams are working on it, with Activision spokesman also mentioning how the company remains committed to getting the franchise on Switch, and details will be shared when they're ready. So there are many ways you could look at this, though. Some might view this as that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is going to be coming to the Switch 2. Others are going to view it as basically that some sort of Call of Duty game will make its way over to the Switch 2. It may not be Black Ops 7. It could be something different. It could be maybe a spin-off. It could be some of the older titles that maybe Nintendo missed out for those Call of Duty games to make it over to the Switch 2 and all. As far as when they may or may not announce it, I mean, again, this could go either way. If I had to take a guess, and this is just me taking a guess, I could be completely off on this. I believe if they do announce Call of Duty for Nintendo's platform, odds are we probably will hear it through the Nintendo Direct. Now, we could be surprised by the announcement. It could show up on the Nintendo Today app. It could basically, Activision Blizzard could announce the game on their own and all. So that's a possibility. But if a Call of Duty game is coming to the Switch 2, it more than likely will be through when Nintendo has their Direct. Whether they have their Direct this month or not, that remains to be seen, although many do speculate that basically we probably will get a Direct this month. So I do believe we will see Call of Duty on the Switch 2. It's just not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So overall, I would say I do think Call of Duty will come to the Switch 2. We just don't know if it will be Black Ops 7 or something else and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with basically sales numbers, at least that has come out so far in regards to the Switch 2 and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Switch 2's sales numbers and all. Now, a lot of people were thinking, especially when the Switch 2 was going to go on sale, is how well will the system do? And there were certainly a lot of factors that could have come in that kind of could have thrown a wrench at it. Some of it is the economic uncertainty. Others is basically the whole tariff situation, and many view that could have had a negative impact on the system. And some believe that the system's price point, including the $80 price tag for Mario Kart World, might have turned some folks away. And those were always, a possibility, Well, Nintendo recently came out with a statement in regards of basically the Switch sales numbers and all. And if what Nintendo is saying is true, and it sounds more likely it is, it seems despite everything going on, the Switch 2 seems to be off to a very good start for Nintendo and all. So basically they released a statement. They did have an article on their website. It does talk about all the features and screenshot, everything like that, and all. and all. But basically, they're saying that the Switch 2 has set a record selling over 3.5 million units globally in its first 4 days. Doug Bowser talks about saying, quote, fans around the world are showing their enthusiasm for Nintendo Switch 2 as an upgraded way to play at home and on the go. We are thankful for their response and happy to see the fun they are already having with Nintendo Switch 2 as they explore new features and games that brings friends and family together in new ways. It's also been reported that it seems to be doing very well in France and even in other countries too. Now, if what they're saying is correct and the Switch 2 is off to a very good, and this is the number and all, this does sound like it's off to a very good start, and there is a good chance it could hit. Supposedly, I remember hearing Nintendo is aiming for 15 million for, I think, one of their fiscal years, and that certainly isn't a bad thing at all. As far as trying to find a Nintendo Switch 2 and all, well, obviously it seems a bit hard to find, but it also depends on where you look. Where I live, though, at a local Target, I saw like there were two units available. I think it was the regular one, not the one with the Mario Kart World, which from what I understand, that one sold very well and everything. But when I went over to Best Buy, they had a sign pointing out of stock for the Nintendo Switch 2. So clearly, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't in terms of trying to get your hands on one, but it's clearly doing very well indeed, and obviously Nintendo must be really happy with that. Now, there are still things that could still throw a wrench off in terms of trying to reach that 15 million though. Again, as I go back, I said the economic uncertainty that's going on, including the whole situation in tariffs, could throw a wrench in terms of Nintendo trying to reach that situation. As we saw what happened when they announced the Switch 2 and the tariffs were announced, they had to delay pre-orders in the US to reassess the situation. Obviously, in the end, they were able to hit the same price tag they announced when the Switch 2 prices was announced during the Switch 2 Direct and everything. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out, but I will say it does seem to indicate the Nintendo Switch 2 is off to a very good start. Hopefully Nintendo can keep that momentum going. We're still waiting to hear what other games are coming and all. We know that basically we have, Donkey Kong Bonanza that's in the works. We know that will be out next month. We know we have that Splatoon 2 spin-off. We know we have Metroid Prime 4 and all. So there are certainly more games. We know there are games coming. We just need to wait to hear when some of these other games will be announced and all. But in either case, though, I will say definitely a good start for Nintendo. It will be very interesting to see them maintain that momentum. So overall, I would say very impressive numbers indeed. Whether or not Nintendo could maintain that momentum or not remains to be seen. I do think there's a very good chance they will, but like I said before, a lot of things can throw a wrench and kind of throw them off course though. But for right now, they seem to be in a very good position in regards of how well the Switch 2 is doing and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part. And this one is going to be my take on June 2025's Xbox Showcase. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, I want to be taking a look at my take on the June 2025 Xbox Showcase. Now, obviously, as we are in June and everything, a lot of the big three companies, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, will be usually doing their showcase or direct. Obviously, Sony had theirs, and I would say theirs was, one of the better state of plays that I've seen in the past. Let's just say a better state of play than I've seen some in the past, though. We're still waiting to hear from Nintendo. I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed on that we get one soon. But the next one up but before we get to that, the next one obviously was Xbox's showcase, though. Now, I will say last year's showcase was pretty impressive in terms of what Microsoft had to show and everything like that. And this year, I would have to say there was some interesting announcements, indeed. While I will say there were some things that I would say was more in the mix or not sure about, though, it still was a very good showcase from Microsoft, nevertheless. So I'm going to break it down into what I like and what I didn't like, mixed or not 100% sure about. In terms of what I like, though, I will say we finally got to see more footage of Clockwork Revolution, the new one from NXIL Entertainment, the folks who did, the Wasteland series and all. This one definitely is still on my radar and everything like that. I do feel it's a little bit of a steampunk, but I also kind of get a little bit of a BioShock vibe out of it, though. So this one definitely is one I am keeping an eye out for. The next one, of course, is, and this one kind of surprised me a lot, and that is Game Freak's Beast of Reincarnation. Judging from what they showed so far, I had to double look and take a look and say, wait a minute, this is from Game Freak. The same Game Freak that has done the Pokemon series for Nintendo. The same Pokemon games, including the last ones, which was heavily criticized by fans over the condition of how that one is set up. And I'm seeing this as like, how can we go from what happened with Pokemon to this? This one definitely surprised me. I believe it's coming to Game Pass and all, and it's definitely one I'm going to be keeping an eye out as well. The other one we had was, I believe this one's from Rebel Wolves, and this one was made by, I think, former developer team that worked on the Witcher series, though, The Blood of Dawnwalker. That one definitely has a sort of Witcher vibe to it, so it's one I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for. We also finally, the rumors turned out to be true. They finally showed off a remake of Persona 4 going by the name Persona 4 Revival. Certainly nice indeed. So obviously Atlus is doing some of the remake of their Persona games. So surprised they haven't done one for Persona 1 or 2. I don't know if that will ever happen or not, but obviously they do want to do these remakes as we gear up for, eventually Persona 6 and all. We also got to see stuff for a DLC for the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle called The Order of Giants. Definitely nice indeed. I am enjoying Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I think that one is a good game. Following the showcase, we also had the Outer Worlds 2 Direct, and they really showed off, Obsidian Entertainment really showed off a lot about the Outer Worlds 2, though. I like some of the stuff that it basically is an improvement on certain areas, but it's definitely one of my games I'm looking forward to that comes out this year. I like the first Outer Worlds game, and this one's definitely on my radar indeed. We also saw another entry of a sequel to High on Life titled High on Life 2, which is certainly nice. I definitely enjoyed the first High on Life. It is definitely a fun game indeed. We know it's coming to multiple platforms. We know it's coming to be day one on Game Pass, so that was definitely on my radar indeed. We also have actually several Final Fantasy games that are going to be making their way over to the Xbox Series X and S. That was announced during the showcase. Final Fantasy VII Remake will be out this winter for the Xbox Series X and S, which is certainly nice because it means the Switch 2 version means more than likely the Switch 2 version will be out this winter indeed. But interesting surprise was the announcement of Final Fantasy 16, which is out right now for the Xbox Series X and S, which is certainly good indeed. Whether you think the game is good or not depends on your view. I will say, based on my time with Final Fantasy 16, it definitely plays more closer to sort of like a Devil May Cry kind of approach. Some might like that, some might hate that, though. It really comes down to your point of view. But in either case, Final Fantasy 16 is now out on the Xbox Series X and S. The other thing is that we also saw some smaller indie titles, though, like Double Fine's The Keeper, which it looks like this really alive a lighthouse and everything. It looks very weird and bizarre, but also kind of interesting indeed, though. I mean, yes, I would like to see them do a sequel to Brutal Legends and all, but hey, I definitely am open to this one, though. I did like Psychonauts 2 on the Xbox Series X and S. And of course, At Fate's End, that one is also kind of interesting and well, and one I will definitely keep an eye out for. And of course, last but not least, outside of showing some gameplay, we finally got a release date for Ninja Gaiden 4, which will be out October 21st of this year. So definitely good. I am looking forward to that one indeed. As far as what I don't like or mixed or not 100% sure about, I will say that although I am looking forward to Clockwork Revolution, that, like I said, that's on my radar, I will say that they have not yet have a release date for that one. They say it's eventually coming and everything and so forth. And really, I would like them to start talking about a release date. So I'm hoping maybe next year or something, but it is a little bit unfortunate. Basically, we didn't get a release date for Clockwork Revolution, or at least a concrete release date. The other thing I do want to talk about is that there were some games that were missing from this showcase, though. We, unfortunately, like Fable, we didn't really see any new footage of Fable and all. That would have been nice if they had showed that. And even Perfect Dark as well. I mean, we had some footage from last year, but since then, we really haven't seen anything else. So I'm hoping we'll see more of those games soon and everything. But unfortunately, they were absent from this showcase, though. The next thing I do want to talk about is the Outer Worlds Showcase or Direct. And while I don't hate the Direct or anything like that, I do have to say the acting in the Outer Worlds 2 Direct was just, at least for me, I thought it was lame. I thought it was the person they hired to do some of the acting and all just felt like it was trying to be funny and all. And it just, no, it was just bad, at least in my view, though. The gameplay and the stuff that they showed, though, wasn't. That certainly was good, but this acting was just, yeah, I don't know what they were trying to do. It just didn't really, at least it didn't really click with me. The other one is basically with Persona 4 Revive, which while it's great that that game exists and all, unfortunately we don't have a whole lot of information at this time, and that is a little bit unfortunate because I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit of gameplay here and there. We saw maybe like one of the characters running around, but that was it. We didn't really see much of whether or not anything has changed or anything like that. So a little bit disappointed on that one, that we didn't really see a whole lot more information on the Persona 4 Revive. And last but not least, and again, this is just my preference though, is I'm not really sold on this ROG Xbox Ally and all. Now, as some of you are aware, Microsoft is supposedly doing some experimentation with handhelds and everything like that. Supposedly they are willing to do a dedicated handheld themselves, but that seems to be put on hold for the time being. In the meantime, they are teaming up with companies like ROG Ally to do sort of this Xbox handheld and everything. And while there are some features that look interesting, such as, playing the games natively, not streaming, to basically, I think, upgradable with the storage space and all, I'm just not 100% sold on it, at least at this time and all. I mean, I might be interested in a handheld from Xbox if it was one they made themselves, but right now, I just feel like this one, like the other ROG Ally, seem to be more geared towards those who are into PC gaming and all, which I will say for the record, I got nothing against those who are into PC gaming. It's just, it's not something that interests me as much, though, okay? I don't deny that there will be an audience and everything, and we also know there are going to be two versions of it, very similar to what we have, with the Xbox Series X and S, though. Whether this becomes a success or not, that remains to be seen, but right now I would say this one I'm not really sold on, at least at this time and all. Overall, I would say this was a pretty good presentation. I thought that Microsoft definitely had a lot to show for this presentation, and there were certainly a lot of really good games that they showed off, including having the Outer Worlds have its own showcase / direct. Again, some games like Fable and Perfect Dark were missing. We were missing a release date for Clockwork Revolution. Persona 4 Revive, while great that they revealed it, was also light on information. And I wasn't sold on the acting in the Outer Worlds 2 showcase or the ROG Xbox Ally. But again, that's down to preference and taste. But in either case, I will say I did come away pleased with what Microsoft showed at this year's Xbox showcase at all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the latest entry into the Resident Evil series at all? Is it a game you are definitely looking forward to picking up and everything? Do you like the idea of it? It looked like it's going back to the ruins of Raccoon City. Do you believe the rumors of Leon Kennedy playing a role in this new entry into this new Resident Evil game and all? What are your thoughts about the supposedly Activision, Blizzard, and Nintendo still ironing out some stuff to bring Call of Duty to, at this point, the Switch 2 though? Do you think that they will be able to pull it off? Do you think it will be Black Ops 7 that was announced during the Xbox showcase? Or do you think it will be maybe a different Call of Duty game making its way over to the Switch 2? What are your thoughts about the report of Switch 2 selling around, I think, 3.5 million units globally in its first 4 days? Do you think these numbers are legitimate? Do you think Nintendo can keep that momentum going? Do you think it's possible they could hit that 15 million mark for one of their fiscal quarters? Or do you think there could be certain things that could throw them off, like economic uncertainties or the tariff situation? And what are your thoughts about the Xbox showcase though? Do you think this was a good showcase from Microsoft? Do you think this was better than any of their past showcase? Or do you think some of their past showcase were better and all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, so you can watch this either on YouTube or Patreon. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!